Berlin, December 31, 1934. Spartacus Olsen reporting from the German capital. Behind a facade of order, Germany was quietly arming itself and relentlessly indoctrinating its youth. While the world's attention turned towards the upcoming Saarplate, the German population was vocally dissatisfied with their local Nazi leaders. But Hitler's untouchable status as the savior of Germany became legion. Tonight, we look back at a quarter that revealed something far more dangerous. Beneath the facade of stability, the Nazi dictatorship was becoming more entrenched, more radical, and increasingly prepared for conflict at home and abroad. As 1934 draws to a close, international focus is firmly fixed on the looming Saarplate scheduled for January that will decide if the territory separated from Germany since the 1918 armistice and administered by the League of Nations, shall be reunited with the Reich, remain under League administration, or join France. Inside Germany, the fourth quarter of 1934 has been a period of dark administrative consolidation. Having neutralized the revolutionary threat of the SR during the summer purges and assumed absolute power following Hindenburg's death, the state's apparatus is focusing entirely on long-term ideological control and military mobilization. Secret rearmament is accelerating as Nazification of society from local markets to university lecture halls is proceeding without hesitation. The final quarter of 1934 was defined by the institutionalization of Nazi ideology into the bedrock of German society. On the military front, Germany engaged in extensive secret, yet not so secret preparations for war. By late November, foreign observers in Berlin noted that the country was rapidly and secretly arming, laying the groundwork for a massive conscript army. Reich Minister of Education Bernhardist accelerated the complete Nazification of the school system. New Nazi textbooks have been introduced that deliberately falsify history to align with the party's racial and political worldview. In October, a draft syllabus announced back in July was issued for state youth days, explicitly mandating that teachers link every historical era to the Jewish question. Children were to be taught that Jews were responsible for Germany's wartime starvation, the stab in the back, and the November revolts of 1918. Simultaneously, the regime tightened its control over the economy and local commerce, pushing Jewish citizens out of public life. Throughout October and November, many municipalities issued local directives banning Jews from autumn fairs and agricultural markets, effectively destroying the livelihoods of Jewish small traders and street vendors. Internationally, Germany negotiated the terms of the SA plebiscite. The regime has been quite nervous about the possible outcome. Last year, Nazi violence in the region was turning the population against Hitler. The party worked hard to dial back the extremism for cosmetic reasons, and that looked like it was working until this summer. Then the killings of Catholic political figures such as Erich Klausner and Catholic youth leader Arabit Peace during the purge caused outrage among Catholic circles in the SA, and anti-Nazi sentiment flared up again. Since then, the Nazis have been unusually docile, campaigned peacefully, and gone out of their way to look agreeable both to the slanders and the international community. In December, Germany agreed to guarantee the rights of Jews in the territory for 1 year. Despite the reduction of violence and concessions, nerves on both sides are at high tension. And on December 8th, the League deployed an international peacekeeping force 33,000 strong that will remain there until and beyond the plebiscite in a fortnight. The regime's willingness to temporarily guarantee Jewish rights in the SA for 1 year looks like a hollow diplomatic maneuver, as the persecution of minorities transition from chaotic outbursts to systematic economic strangulation, when municipalities across Germany utilize bureaucratic ordinances to exclude Jewish merchants from public markets and fairs, stripping them of their ability to earn a living. To imbue the underlying ideology of that oppression into the young generation, the education system has been transformed into a weapon of racial hatred. The syllabus for the state youth days dictates that school children be indoctrinated with virulent antisemitism, blaming Jews for all of Germany's historical grievances, including the loss of the World War. This goes back to one of the founding ideas for a Nazi state that Hitler formulated in mind already 8 years ago. It is certain, however, that this world is heading toward a great upheaval. There can be only one question: whether it will result in the salvation of Aryan humanity or in the benefit of the internal Jew. The Völkisch state must therefore ensure through an appropriate education of the youth that one day a generation mature enough for the final and greatest decisions on this earth will arise. The people that first embarks on this path will prevail. The entire educational and formative work of the Völkisch state must find its culmination in instilling both instinctively and intellectually a sense of race and racial feeling deep into the hearts and minds of the youth entrusted to it. Consequent to this battle of the races that he imagines lies ahead, Hitler wants to educate the next generations into a militarist force of greater strength and fortitude than his own generation who lost the Great War. Above all, return to the mighty army of our German youth. They are growing into a great epic of transition, and what the laziness and indifference of their fathers cost, they themselves will be forced to fight. Even at the university level, the atmosphere is becoming heavily militarized and oppressive. Academic independence is long abolished, with lectures now beginning with mandatory Hitler salutes and professors sounding like military commanders. Moreover, the Nazis have now taken control of the very heart of academic thought, forcing an anti-intellectual, racially motivated change to university curriculums. The integration of racial science, racen, is now mandatory across various disciplines. Medical schools require courses in racial hygiene and human heredity to promote state-sponsored eugenics. The humanities and social sciences have shifted focus towards the Volk blood and soil concept and anti-Semitic Jewish research. Even the hard scientists are ideologically corrupted, with universities promoting concepts like German physics to purge alleged Jewish influences, such as Einstein's theory of relativity. Objective inquiry and the scientific method that had until recently put the German academic system at the height of institutional research and learning has now been replaced with racially determined pseudoscience. This demise of German academic greatness fits well into Hitler's disdain for intellectual disciplines that he has repeatedly expressed, like last year on May 10th, when announcing the German Labor Front. He said, "I know this broad mass of my folk would like to say only one thing to our intellectuals. Any built only upon the classes of intellect is a weak construction. I know this intellect perpetually brooding, perpetually inquiring, but also perpetually uncertain, perpetually hesitating, vacillating, never firm. He who would construct on these intellectual classes alone will find that he is building on sand." The regime also moved to solidify its control over all cultural output. In November, Propaganda Minister Josef Goebbels held a conference with film creators to dictate the future of German cinema. He presented specific projects he wanted to produce as models for the German art film of the future, including historical epics about Oliver Cromwell and the Wars of Liberation. The former suggested because Hitler is an outspoken fan of Cromwell, whom he views as an ideal Christian dictator. The latter, since the unified struggle by the German princes against Napoleon to the Nazis, codifies the rejection of French revolutionary values and contrasts democratic civil equality with German soldierly comrade and Prussian ideals of heroic self-sacrifice.